All right, welcome back. We're continuing our deep dive into the book Capital Redefined. And today, we're hitting chapter 3. And this one, well, this is where we build the foundation for a whole new way to think about capital. Let's get into it.
So, right out of the gate, the book throws this huge question at us. What if capital isn't just one single thing? I mean, really think about that. What if the way we've always defined capital is actually what's holding us back from understanding it? It's a massive idea, so let's unpack it.
Okay, so here's the big shift. The traditional view sees capital as this giant, solid block, monolithic. But this new modular view, it's totally different. The book asks us to imagine capital like a set of Lego bricks. Each brick is its own thing, its own process, but you can snap them together in different ways, pull them apart, and see how they connect. It's a much more dynamic way to look at things, because it lets us see both the inner workings and how it all connects to the outside world, to society, to the environment, the whole shebang.
So here's how we're going to break it all down today. We'll start with this modular approach, then get into the 4 key building blocks for this new theory. After that, we'll see how it all fits together, and we'll wrap up with a really core concept, the 2 faces of value.
But why do we even need this new blueprint? Well, the argument is pretty compelling. Capital itself has changed. It's become way more modular, right? It's more of a network now. Just think about something like the gig economy or these incredibly complex global supply chains. You can't just slap a single old-school definition on that and expect it to make sense. We need a way of thinking that's as flexible as the system we're looking at.
And this is where it gets really interesting. This idea of modularity comes from systems theory. And what that means is we stop treating capital like a thing and start treating it like a system. It's all about the architecture, How do the pieces connect? How can they be rearranged? When you think of it that way, you can suddenly analyze how capital actually works with a lot more precision.
All right, so if we're going to build this new model, we need a solid foundation. The author lays out 4 essential measures. Think of them like the 4 cornerstones of a building. Every single part of this theory rests on these 4 ideas. They give it both its analytical bite and its ethical compass.
The magic here is really how these 4 pieces work together. So first, we're going to broaden our whole idea of what creates value. Then, we'll bring in this new moral yardstick called true value. After that, we'll get the tools to see what's really going on under the hood. And finally, we'll tie it all together. Let's tackle them one by one.
Okay, measure number 1. We have to broaden what we mean by causality. For a long time, the focus has been pretty much just on labor as the source of value. But it's just one part of a much bigger story.
So what the book does, and this is a really clever move, is it brings back Aristotle's 4 causes. This means value doesn't just come from the work put in, it's also about the materials used, the formal structure or design, and maybe most importantly, the final purpose of a thing. All of a sudden, you have this much richer, multi-dimensional picture of where value actually comes from.
Next up, measure 2. This one introduces a really powerful concept that kind of gives the whole theory its moral backbone. It's this idea of true value.
So what is true value? Simply put, it's anything that helps us live a good life. Think about clean water, strong communities, shared knowledge, stuff that helps us all thrive. The book argues that what capital does is it finds this true value and, it perverts it. It twists it into something the book calls fetish value, which is value that's only about profit and accumulation. A perfect example is taking a beautiful public park and turning it into a private for-profit venue. That's the conflict in a nutshell.
Okay, so we've got a new way to think about what creates value. And we've got this idea of true value. But how do we actually spot these things in the real world? This is where measure 3 comes in. It gives us the tools to see what's happening underneath the surface.
The theory uses a method from critical realism, which basically says reality has layers. There's the empirical, the stuff we see every day, like prices rising. Then there's the actual, the event itself. But the most important layer is the real. These are the deep, hidden structures that are actually causing those surface-level events. So when you see empty shelves in a store, you can reason backward, retroduction is the fancy term, and trace it from the empty shelf, past the shipping delay, all the way back to the deep economic structures that created the problem in the first place.
And that brings us to the 4th and final building block, a non-dualist approach. That sounds complicated, but it's really simple. It just means we have to stop pretending the economy is somehow separate from society or from nature.
They're all part of the same system. The inner logic of capital, that constant drive for more profit, forces it to reach outside of itself.
It grabs parts of our social lives, parts of the natural world, the commons, and pulls them into its orbit to make money. This is huge. It means something like factory pollution isn't some external accident. It's a direct, predictable result of how the system is designed to work.
So, you might be listening to all this and thinking, wow, that's a lot of different ideas coming together. And you'd be absolutely right. But this isn't just a random mix and match. Let's look at how the book carefully pieces these traditions together to build something really new and powerful.
See, the model isn't trying to start from scratch. It's way smarter than that. It's weaving together some of the best threads from different schools of thought. It takes that core critique of capital's engine from Marxian analysis, it expands the idea of value using Aristotle, it gets its deep-diving tools from critical realism, and it gets its moral compass from normative theory. By weaving these all together, it creates a tapestry that's stronger than any single thread on its own.
To help us understand how these different layers of cause and effect work, the theory gives us two really handy terms: infraprocess and metaprocess. The easiest way to think about it is this. An infraprocess is like laying down the railroad tracks. It's the deep foundational work. The metaprocess is the train that runs on top of those tracks. It's the big, visible change that couldn't happen without the groundwork being laid first.
And this is a perfect example of that hierarchy in action. You don't just get economic globalization out of the blue. That's the metaprocess, the train. For that to happen, you need the tracks of economic liberalization. But to lay those tracks, you need commodification, the process of turning more and more things into stuff you can buy and sell. And even deeper than that, you need the foundational infraprocess of reification. That's just a fancy word for when we start treating abstract ideas like the market as if they're real, living things. You can see how each step is built on the one before it.
Okay, so everything we've talked about so far, the modular design, the four cornerstones, how it all pieces together, it all leads us here, to the core conflict. This whole theory is really about a fundamental battle at the heart of our world, a clash between two completely different types of value.
And if you take one thing away from this explainer, let it be this. On one side, you've got capital's fetish value. Think of it as extractive. It takes all the good stuff, our creativity, our communities, our planet, and twists it for one purpose and one purpose only: profit. And that leads to crisis. But on the other side, you have true value. This is generative. It's what we create when we use those same resources to build a good life, to heal our relationships with each other and with the planet.
And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The demolition of true value is the root cause of all socio-ecological vices. It's such a powerful way to reframe things. It suggests that all these massive problems we face aren't separate, random events. They're symptoms of one underlying cause: the constant destruction of what's truly valuable. So, there you have it. Chapter 3 has given us the blueprint and the complete toolkit. We have our 4 measures, and we understand this core battle between fetish value and true value. We've laid all the groundwork, and now we're ready to use it. Make sure you join us for the next explainer, because we're heading into Chapter 4. This is the heart of the book, where we take this amazing framework and use it to map capital itself. You won't want to miss it.